What's going on, guys? This is Hassan from the Spiritual Walks, and I hope everyone is doing amazing. Today I wanted to talk about the heart. I wanted to discuss with you the importance of opening your heart. As we move through life, as we grow up, we go through many different experiences that are pleasant, unpleasant, that are desirable, undesirable. And we tend to have specific reactions. We develop specific reactions to specific experiences. A pleasant experience, we may sometimes want to milk that to its maximum. We want to prolong it to its maximum. Whereas a unpleasant experience, we want to numb ourselves to this, and we want to block this away. But the problem here is that when we treat a particular experience with rejection, when we create an obstacle to stop a specific experience in life from happening, what that really does is it stops other experiences from happening as well. So whatever our reaction is to a particular negative experience is, that can filter through into the positive experience. So if I numb myself from a moment of suffering and I keep doing that, eventually certain aspects such as the beauty of life, nature, I become numb to that as well. And so what would be the solution for this? There are many different ways in which someone can reopen their heart, reignite their heart, the sensitivity that we once had when we were children. The excitement, the joy, jumping around, bouncing around, running around, falling, getting back up, and then falling and getting back up. Very often, some of the best experiences we experience and go through as adults are experiences that are actually really close to how we felt when we were kids, when we were young once again. And so it's really, the solution's really in the inhibition, looking at the inhibitions that we develop over time. How do we let them go? How do we take brick by brick off that wall we have built around us against life? So I would like to mention with you guys two ways. The first way, and by the way, both ways are actually very uncomfortable. So the first way is a dopamine detox. I've spoken about this before, and I'll tell you why a dopamine detox can reignite that sensitivity in life once again. So let's say, for an example, we have dopamine receptors in our brain. And these dopamine receptors, when they are bombarded with dopamine, they feel so good. It feels as though one is fulfilled. Dopamine is released when we eat a chocolate bar, after we have worked out, after we have achieved a particular goal we have been working on for months on end. Or it could come from something short-lived like masturbation, or watching a Netflix show, or pornography, or loads of other things we are being bombarded with as an invitation to get an instant dopamine hit. Now let's say, for an example, that when you go out in nature, like now, it constantly, every moment, is releasing a dopamine level of 1, let's just say, just sitting here, or a dopamine level of 10. When I go back inside and I eat a chocolate bar, that's going to hit me with a dopamine level of 100. When I watch television or Netflix, that show is going to hit me with a dopamine hit of maybe 200. When I go out on a jog, that might hit me with a dopamine level of 15 after I finish the jog. And you can easily start to see how the things that we gravitate to, that are within our comfort zone, that begin to numb us, are the ones that hit us with a tremendous amount of dopamine. And so when we keep getting ourselves or our brain used to this amount of dopamine, when we now come out after watching so much Netflix or eating so much junk food or masturbating or whatever it is, when we now come out to just observe this life, taking a breath of fresh air doesn't feel good. And you may be sitting there thinking, what? Taking a breath of fresh air, does that feel good? Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you don't breathe in right now, and if that doesn't feel good, if the wind hitting your skin, if that does not feel good, if there's no element of joy in that, then there is something that is missing. And that is, or instead actually, we are getting too much of that something, and that would be dopamine. Okay? So this is one way to bring our sensitivity level back to a normal state. And I've spoken about this before, and mid-April I'll be embarking on a 30-day dopamine journey, and I'd like you to join. I actually released a video earlier which I will link above. Now the second way in which we can reintroduce that sensitivity we used to have as a kid is through practicing compassion. Now, something that is interesting about any compassionate act, you'll notice whether it's giving up your time to help someone, knowing that you will not get anything in return, or giving up a particular object, money or food or something, and giving it to someone who needs it, knowing that you will not get an immediate return back from this, right? These are acts of compassion. There is absolutely no reason for you to take part in these acts, because why give away something that is yours? Why give away your money to someone who is poor whilst you have worked so hard for that? Well, the reward isn't in the immediate transaction. We have become transactional beings because we're so used to the physicality of this life, where if I work for 10 hours per day, I should be expected to be paid a certain amount. If I want to buy a car, I have to give a certain amount of money and energy and time to be able to get that car. And so this transactionality is ingrained within us, and so it doesn't make so much sense immediately to give money to the poor. But there's something really beautiful and interesting about a particular act of compassion. When you give up your time, when you give something away, what you are doing is you are loosening the rigidity of who you think you are. And this is actually a tremendous possibility, because who you think you are isn't the center of the universe. So if you hold on to who you think you are, this identity, this ego, if you shuffle through this life as though this is the center of the entirety of existence, you have no option but to feel like you're bombarded with things left, right, center. You have no option but to feel like whatever you engage in, you feel as though you are the victim of that. When something negative happens, you feel as though you're a victim because it's happening to you, because you are now the center. But when we give away parts of who we are, who we think we are, eventually there is an empty space, and that empty space is beyond measure. The peace and the joy felt within that is beyond measure. When we now sit down and we take that fresh breath of air, when we look around us, when we look at the trees, the skies, the beauty of this very moment, we can actually see it now. Because the center, that which who we think we are, the center of the universe, that can only see what it has been programmed to see. That can only see what it has conditioned to see. It can't see life as is. And that is actually what is missing in most of our lives. Now, I hope that we make a conscious effort to not embark in certain activities that desensitize us, that numb us to life. Because believe me, life is short but beautiful. And so let's tune into that beauty while we're here. That's what this is really all about. Yes, you have goals. Yes, you have all these things you want to do and fulfill. Yes. You don't have to let go of these. Or perhaps just change your perspective about them. Understand that it's a play. And so why not make it worthwhile? Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this has sparked something within you to at least open your heart. Because when your heart opens, the person next to you will most likely be invited to open their heart as well. Be vulnerable. Be unconditioned. See life as though you were just born. And I'll see you next week.